Tim Goldstein, autistic adult, and your host for Life in a Neurotypical Universe, where we take a look at life from the perspective of an autistic adult. Maisie and I had such a great time talking, we left the recording going, and it became enough material for 2 sessions. This is the second of the 2 sessions. If you missed the first one, I'd suggest go back to session 1 with Maisie so you can understand all the context that we talk about in the second session. I think if you listen to both of them, you're going to get quite a great view of all the interesting information that Maisie had to share with us. Well, enjoy as we listen to the second segment of our chat with Maisie on life in the neurotypical universe.
I'm going to back you up now. You mentioned your assessment a couple times, but you've never really explained it for us. So
okay.
I want to know more. Tell me more about your assessment and how it's used, and all those good things.
Okay, so it contains 3 phases. The first phase is, and we always start the same way. I have a sensory box where everybody comes in and they get like 10 minutes or so to just fiddle. It's the fidget. I have fidget toys, silly putty, slinkies, you name it. And I tell you, everyone loves it. And I've seen companies here in San Francisco, they have fidget boxes, because they're starting to hire, more autistic. Or they can bring something from home that they feel very comfortable. So they ease into the interview process, right? Secondly, they also start with an activity that they feel they can show competence in. So some people actually bring a guitar and sing a song. Some people make jewelry because she sells jewelry. That's her business. Yeah, all these just things that they can showcase that they can do really, really well. And they all told me, well, just knowing that I can walk into potential business, knowing that I can start with this, that change the tone immediately. And that helps them to regulate. So phase 1 is basically to look at how people regulate themselves in using what methods, certain materials or certain activities. And then when they're ready, they tell you, okay, ready to move on to the different activities. So the second phase is what I call learning through process, where we look at executive functioning, decision-making, goals and objectives. So here I use puzzles. I use building marshmallow structures with sticks, which is actually
I love the marshmallow challenge. The funniest thing is if you're going to do the marshmallow challenge, you want me on your team.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know it. I'm sure you can build fancy ones.
Because what we'll do is we're going to build a Warren truss. See, it's the engineering structure to use, but you have to go learn some engineering first.
Yeah, so we use toothpicks and spaghetti, pasta. So just so people,
actually, Microsoft uses the spaghetti thing in their autism program.
Exactly. Actually, that's where I got this idea from. But I just kind of expand that. So we have a box where we just put random things in there. It's a box. And we just tell them, okay, you do what you want with it. And it's very interesting what people come up with, right? Yeah, so the second phase is obviously very important. And this is where companies can actually insert an activity that would look at potentially the position that they're hiring for, right? So it could be different things. Right. But what I'm scoring for is the ability to manage time, to make choices, to transition, to problem solve, to go back, to follow instructions, to communicate progress, to ask for help. A ton of stuff.
It sounds like what you're really looking at are what's your skill and ability to be an employee. Not about any particular job. I mean, we're gonna check your ability for a job separate. Like you said, they're going to insert if it's a computer programmer, they're going to have them do a programming test. If it's a graphic artist, they're going to put them in front of a graphic art program and have them do something. But you're actually checking on the fact of, is this person up to the point of even capable of functioning in the workplace, or do we need to work on that before we even worry about any technical skills?
Exactly. And the last phase is the social communication. So this is where I take a few items from the phase 2, a few activities, and I partner up with them. So they explain to me how to play a board game, how to do something, explaining a process, right? So that's the last phase. So across the board, usually phase 3 is where people have a hard time with. It's just that communication.
What do you see? This is interesting because I have certainly seen some of the challenges and personally experienced some of the challenges of being the autistic person trying to communicate concepts or ideas that I have down very well. I mean, I could sit down and go do it and show you that I really do know how to do it. But I'm going to be interested to see how you explain this one, and then we'll kind of circle back.
Sure.
So, I guess what do you see as far as these people learning these different skills? Where are the challenges in teaching them? I guess I would say, like this one of communicating. What's the biggest challenge you see that you have to overcome for them to communicate well? Because I mean, they obviously know how to do whatever they did because they just did it. The question comes, can you relate it to another human so that other human can follow you?
Well, again, it depends on the person. Some people understand what the assignment, the task is for them to actually use communication to mentor someone. Many people, they just don't understand that point, that they need to teach a partner to be able to do the task they just completed. So it depends on the person. But I think that number one is the understanding, that the person understand the value of communicating. And for many people, it's just they can communicate basic wants and needs, but anything beyond that, again, the why bother is not there. Like, why don't I want? So that's where I think the disconnect is challenging.
You know, one challenge I've seen, and this is what I was wondering if you would mention or not, is quite often, especially if we're dealing with more of what we would call the Asperger's type profile. I mean, we all understand under the the DSM, there is no more Asperger's, which there still should be, but that's another story for another time. So you're dealing with somebody of that profile. And what I personally have seen as being one of the challenges is you're often explaining this to a person who does not know it as well as you do. I mean, in the work environment, I'm working with the tech people. It's another senior tech person, been doing the same thing for 20 years, and you're trying to explain it to a business person that has never written a program like this in their life. They just use programs. Right. And what I've seen happen far too often is the autistic person, because we tend to be so detail-oriented, as we've already talked about. Right. We know every single detail is important, because if you miss one, the program doesn't work. So they end up talking and explaining such a high level of detail at such a high level of knowledge that they essentially make the other person feel insulted as if they're being talked down to. And I've seen that as being a big problem all the time. It's not that they're not delivering the message in a way that accurately explains it. They're delivering it too much like a research paper, not like two humans talking.
Yeah, but then it falls on the partner's responsibility to communicate the lack of understanding, isn't it? So
I wouldn't say it's not that they don't understand. It's just to me that style. When if you run into a PhD student and they're talking like an academic paper, I mean, the emotional response that most people have is, "What a friggin' jerk."
Right. Well, but that's why I think you and me and a bunch of other people should work together to create this curriculum, because that falls under mentorship curriculum, for example, for people to know how do they help the autistic person. That's too much information. I think, again, that's lack of understanding of context. Like, they just don't. I mean, if you're explaining something about your work to me, there is no way that I would. I mean, but I would be able to tell you, like, wait a minute, you're going too fast. But I think if you don't understand that,
See,
that's
now,
the goal.
it's also very common in these different IT departments and such I've worked with, where you have neurotypicals who they're very bright, they do great jobs. You don't have to be autistic to be a programmer by any means. Plenty of us there, but you don't have to be. And they have a tendency to be much better at explaining it when they're dealing with, say, a business person who doesn't come from a technical background than most of the ones that I would identify as being at least functionally autistic. And what I've always seen is because the functionally autistic person thinks that every detail has to be explained. The other person recognizes if they get the gist and a nod, you're good enough to move on.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a disconnect because autistics don't pick up the subtleties of, like, if somebody's beginning to look confused, or you could tell in the person's eye. Well, you would have a hard time with that because you have a hard time reading facial expressions.
I can usually tell because my wife's kicking me in the shin. That's how I tell.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
I mean, it hurts a little bit, but it does work.
The subtleties, but you get it. You get it. But only she's allowed to do that, though. But that's it's really lost in translation, I think. Because I think autistics don't really know how to.
I guess the way I put it is, there's three different levels of information, and the problem is often the autistic, because they got into this field because it was their special interest, which is usually how we get into most of the fields we get into, and they understand it at just the super, super detailed level, and that's how they think about it. That's how they process it. That's how they go about, and that's how I do my work. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are autistic, and this is something that, fortunately, I went and studied with all different people and all different kinds of things. And one of my mentors taught me that people don't want the actual whole explanation of what the heck you do. They just want a title they can put in their brain and file away. And now that's the way he put it. It was dealing with business cards, but it just extend that out to speaking to people in general. People don't want to know that what I actually really do on a day-by-day basis, that I was writing some Python before I got a hold of you. I was writing JavaScript yesterday. I'm connecting to somebody's database here. Nobody cares. All they want to hear is, oh, I'm a professional services senior consultant for a large data processing company. Yeah. Good. That's it. That's all they need. Move on. But instead, the autistic person feels like they have to explain all those nuances about, because to them, they're important. To the neurotypical, it's kind of like, this is a party. I just want to know, like, what you do, because that's what I'm supposed to ask, and let's move on.
No, I think that's just.
So I think that's, like you say, that's one of the training things that people who are autistic need to be taught when they go into the workplace is that there are these different levels of information. And if you're talking to a business person and they're asking you about the thing that you specialize in, you can't talk at the detail like you talk to the person next to you that does the same thing.
No. Or how about, like, for the mentor or the neurotypical to just, know, okay, if I don't get it, just be more, like, overt, like, just use, like, hang on, use more gestures, so that eventually will help the autistic partner to know, okay, I need to just slow down, or there's certain things actually neurotypicals use gestures.
I don't think we tend to not pick up on the gestures. And even if we do, the problem again is it's a problem of, this goes back to the whole autistic first versus people first. Being autistic first, we're going to go to that autistic way that we do things, and we do them at that most detailed level.
So it's natural.
Because that's how I would go do it. So I'm going to talk to you about the level like I was going to go do it. Well, you come from the marketing department, let's say, and not the tech department. I mean, you want to know kind of like, what's this thing do? Like, up here at a high level so you can go write some marketing around it. You really don't care about how I move bits from one place to another. But I don't think autistic people are taught that when somebody asks about something they're doing, they don't want to know how to do it at the level of how to do it. They want to know kind of, what do you do? I play baseball. Cool. Yeah. I don't want to know about how you throw and how you train. And I just.
It's the right kind of information and the right amount of information. Right. So I think a curriculum that we can call it connecting minds. And that's where there's that give and take for the autistics as well as for the neurotypicals, so it's same difference. But it's
and the way I see it fit together is most neurotypicals in my mind tend to come at things from a 50,000 foot level. They get the overall gist first, and then they dig down deep enough to accomplish whatever it is that they need to accomplish. And once they accomplish it, they're done. Right. I mean, they don't need to know anymore because they did what they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. They get the gist, and then they dig only as deep to do what you need to do. Right. Whereas most technical neurodiverse people will say, because that's the ones I work with the most, we start at the detail level and we build our generalizations in our own head out of the details.
Yeah. Right. So I think one good idea is to have the good enough. Like for every project, there has to be good enough, and you could spell it out, right? So you have the tip sheet for each person, and then the good enough, and the context.
Right. Well, even as you know, on the tip sheets, I mean, they're really written at a good enough level. It's not written at trying to make you an expert. I mean, it's a tip sheet. It's only got, I mean, what's it got? It's got a headline and 2 sentences underneath it. Exactly. It's that general overall gist. But I think you're right. So the hard part is trying to get the neurodiverse person to recognize that if you get the gist, that's all I need to do. I'm done. I've done my job. You don't need to do. Yeah. You don't need to be able to take over my job. You just need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're good enough, and my good enough looks different. It's the subjectivity of it.
But I think it's that acceptance that good enough is sufficient. Yeah. Now we can work together and figure out where's that good enough sit between us. As opposed to too often the autistic person goes into it of, if you don't understand every detail I want to tell you, we can't have a conversation because you don't know enough yet. Which means there's no conversation. They haven't met their 25% that they can meet. And the 25% is simply saying, okay, I realize you didn't go to school for computers and haven't programmed them for 20 years like I have, which means I probably need to explain it to you in a little more basic terms, even though you won't get the fine details. But then again, you're not going to go do it. So you don't need the fine detail. So I think it's that acceptance first. And once you have the acceptance, now it's easy to say, okay, too deep. Tim, get out of those weeds. Come back up a little bit for
bandwidth. me. Yeah. Exactly. There's that bandwidth, I suppose, where you could go in and out, in and out.
But it's that recognition from both sides that one's coming from a detail, one's coming from a high-level concept. And somewhere in the middle is the right level for this conversation. But again, I've just seen too many autistic people that if you can't get that detail level, then they just put the stamp of the way Chris Turner put it. Chris is a consultant in autism in Australia. We were talking about what the stamp of incompetence. I was telling him about frequently as a autistic person, if I decide that somebody is incompetent, I basically just discount them and move on. I mean, they're incompetent.
Yeah.
To deal with somebody incompetent. So let's just move on.
Extra things.
So he actually put a name to it, which was the stamp of incompetent. It's kind of like the ultimate curse if you're dealing with a neurodiverse person, is if they put the stamp of incompetence on you, we've basically discounted you to the point that you are of no value in our life and you're wasting my time because you never want to, and I'm not saying you personally, but don't want to listen to the way I am trying to explain it and learn my perspective. Instead, you want me to accept your perspective only. And that gets the stamp of incompetence, and then you just don't listen to him anymore.
Right. So I was going to ask you about this idea I have about I'm trying to set up a nonprofit for Autism Career Pathways so that I can build an online platform containing a video-based curriculum teaching small businesses how to, just implement your everything on your tip sheet, for example. But it's all short video clips. Because in my work, RDI work, that's what parents do. They videotape their engagement with a child, and I give them feedback because it's a tremendous learning tool for them for reflection. So I thought it would be great to do the thing. Of course, it's going to take. Don't ask me how I'm going to get there, but But do you think it's a good idea to be able to see short video clips of actual different types of career settings? So imagine if every library in America, for example, employ people with autism. It's a perfect environment for people with autism because it's quiet and the set of skills required is actually, it fits perfectly. Why don't we have libraries hiring people with autism, for example, because they don't know how to do it?
Yeah, they can't get through the interview is the problem. Not that they wouldn't be the world's best librarian you've ever had, because they wouldn't even look at the computer half the time. They'd know already where the book belongs.
Right. Well, so I'm thinking, why not create like a short video series on how to employ people with different abilities at the library setting. If you could do it at the library, you'll be the same at Barnes and Noble or these other, because it's the same difference, the task, right? What do you think about that? Do you think that would make a difference?
There's certainly a number of pieces out there already. So one thing is I would definitely look at what's out there, because as you say, it's a major undertaking. From having actually done one of those courses, it wasn't for the exact same purpose. It was more, I call it my HR master course. And it's really going through kind of the psychology of how we think, how we process. So when you're dealing with a person on the spectrum, you can actually have a little clue of what's really going through their head, not what would I be thinking and doing if I acted that way. And it's a huge amount of work. First off.
It is a huge amount of work. That's why I am setting up the nonprofit, so eventually I can apply for a grant and be able to hire a team of people. And, the library idea, I already have some videos, but I want to, do.
See, I think the idea is a great idea. I love the idea of showing, what would you say? Yeah, ideally, if you could find an autistic person in that situation that could talk about working in that particular situation.
Of course.
Some industries that's going to be harder than others, but no, I think that would be really good, because I think one of the challenges, as you point out, is these kids have grown up with parents that frequently have told them all the way along the way, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. Well, guess what? You probably can do all those things and more. And this would be a great way that now they're kind of on their adult journey, their transition and adult journey, to actually see, oh my gosh, here's another person that's like me that, oh my gosh, they can actually stand on a stage and talk. Maybe I could do that someday. Or they can do all these jobs that traditionally we say autistic people can't do. Go interview a phenomenally good corporate salesperson that happens to be autistic. Everybody will tell you, come on, how much more person-facing can you get than being in sales?
Wow, that's very unusual, though, for an autistic.
Done it myself for many years. No, there's lots of autistic people who are in sales. The way I fell into it really was, again, we keep going back to special interests. When I was young, older teenager, 17, 16, somewhere around there, it was the 10-speed bike boom, early 70s. And I wanted a 10-speed bicycle. And I kept harping about it so long that my mother finally told me, probably about September, next time I hear anything about a bicycle, I'm taking $1 away every time I hear it from what I'm going to give you for Christmas. But I went into work in the bicycle industry. I started in the shop because I loved bicycles. So I went to work in the bike industry.
That's
And
great.
I started in the
Yeah.
back room in the shop, so I didn't have a lot of personal interaction other than with other employees. But when you're working in a small, I mean, they're mom and pop stores back then. Now there's corporate chains, but it was all mom and pops then. And sooner or later, it's a busy Saturday and you get called out on the floor just because they just need any bodies just to make sure things aren't getting stolen and whatever. There's talk to people, keep them occupied till we can get somebody to them.
Yeah. Well, that's the best way
bingo,
to
because I
start,
was
where
doing
you
something
were-
that I loved. So talking about bicycles was not intimidating. It was something I loved, so I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that's,
So I think that's...
See, we could do a video series on that, for example.
So I think,
you
showing
know,
something that showcases people in different industries that nobody ever thinks
Yes.
of. I mean, we don't
what
need
I
to show
wanna
another
do.
computer
That's
programmer.
what I
Everybody's
wanna
already got that one in their head.
Right. Yeah, that's yours. I don't want to do that, but I want to do libraries, cafes, people who make buttons, you know, there's all
Comedians,
these
singers, dancers, actors. I mean,
barbecue sauce is one young man
Right.
who that's his business. You know, he makes barbecue sauce. Why not? You know, so that's what I want to do, is because there are different types of businesses that people can do. So that's
I think it's worth doing. I mean, I definitely think it's worth doing. The way I would personally go about doing it is, I'd get started.
I am actually. I'm actually saving up to do our nonprofit. You know,
I would back up though and say,
rolling.
do you need a nonprofit to be able to do the first video? And the answer is, I'm looking at you on a camera and I'm hearing you perfectly fine. So
I bought a camera already.
So the answer is, you could be actually doing video, sending them out saying, okay, what do you think? How can we improve them? Instead of just thinking about getting started.
Yeah. I already have some videos. I would love for you to help me look at my videos once I put it together.
I'll even willing to look at them, in the raw if you want. But, my only point is being that the major problem I see that most people have in getting things accomplished, and I won't say that I've accomplished the most major things in the world, but I've done a few things in my life.
You have done a lot. You're such a great advocate. I mean,
you should have met me 5 years ago, but
well, that's even more impressive because you've done a lot in such a short time.
The point being, though, you get started, which is the trick that most people never get going on, and your first one is going to be horrible. And you just know it off front.
Yeah.
And if the first one happens to turn out good, hallelujah, man, go have a party. But the expectation is the first one's going to be a piece of trash. But it got you started. It got you in front of a camera. It got you talking. Yeah. And then you take this thing and now you start putting it in front of people saying, how could I make it better?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my project, because the assessment is good enough. And actually all these adults who participated in the assessment, they are the ones who are part of this. They, gave me an agreement that they're going to take on to continue with this. So they're going to be part of it. So I'm going to go to Costco. I'm going to the senior center. I'm going to these places with my little camera. And I help them set goals, and I work with their job coaches.
Oh, way cool. Way cool. I think you have all the right pieces. You have the right contacts. You definitely have the right knowledge. Well, I mean, it's important. There was an interesting post on LinkedIn the other day, and somebody had posted about how they were just so overjoyed that it was an autistic speaker that was giving a talk about autism. And no, don't get me wrong. I am overjoyed that we're getting autistic speakers talking about autism, because I would do a crappy job talking about being a female. Never been one, never tried it. You could study like crazy, but I'll still get it 100%. And that's the problem, is it doesn't matter. I mean, it's kind of like you said, professionally, autism's been your profession for decades, but you had an autistic kid and all of a sudden it was a brand new experience.
Well, I have a lot to learn, because every individual is different. I think having an open mind and I have a lot to learn in terms of just running a business, right? That's the side that I never really pay attention to. How do you employ people? What's the funding sources? What's available? That's like brand new. I just got certified in customized employment. I was like, holy moly, this is like tough.
You know,
I really want to do this. It's like convincing, like
it's kind of it's kind of funny that here are these things that to you are big challenges because you've never done it. You're just not sure. So that does make it a big challenge, right? I mean, not knowing it and never having done it is a big challenge, no matter how you look at it, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of laughing because to me, that would be like, you'd hop on the computer in about 15 minutes, we'd have a company up and running, we'd have an IRS number, we'd be filed with the state, and we're rocking already. We have a payroll company, we'd have everything in about 15 minutes.
It's not that. Also, because I'm taking a leave of absence from work. So I'm taking like 6 months off to really figure this out. And then I got the grant to host the Autism Goes to Work event on April 2nd. So that's a big distraction for me because I can bring the autistics to come. I have the presenters, the musicians, all these superstars from our world. But if I can't bring the other side of small businesses from my city to come, that would be devastating. That's where I am at. So that's a big distraction, but it could be a good platform.
I mean, I think that's a phenomenal start, and that would be a phenomenal place to show some of these initial videos to that audience.
Yes.
You don't even have to have the site up and running. You just have to have a couple of the videos shot so you can show them kind of here's the project that I'm pressing into.
It's going to play in the background. We actually have an author coming from Ireland, and it's just suddenly like, I will be okay. It's exciting and scary at the same time, but because I just don't want to disappoint if I can't bring small businesses to come. That's my fear, but I should not look at it like that. I'll just keep moving forward. Right now it's too early. So come January 1st, I'll be doing all the legwork. I'll be contacting the Chamber of Commerce, the business groups, all the adult transition program.
I would start contacting them now, to be honest. Okay.
Oh, okay. I have. Believe me, I have. And they all have to think about it. And they all told me, we'll get back to you. Trust me. I have. But it's okay. I'm persistent, and I have my connections. I certainly have the autism community to help me. But like I said, once we hopefully get a grant, I would love to have a team of people who can just help me put the pieces.
There's definitely people around that are definitely willing to help. I mean, I'm certainly willing to help you as much as I can. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of others like me that would be more than willing to help you. We recognize, and this is a big thing that another one of my soapbox issues is the autism community has done a horrible job of working together. I personally think, I think that there's a huge amount of parallel between the LGBT community and the autism community.
Yeah.
And from the standpoint that they both cut completely across every type of dividing line you can come up with. It doesn't matter, male, female, of color, white. It doesn't. Nothing matters. You can be autistic. You can be gay. It just don't care. And what I've seen, and I kind of joke about this, is the LGBT plus community has done a good job of working together and putting out a relatively unified message. I mean, yes, they have some of their own infighting and such, any group does. But overall, they've been great at a unified message. The autism community, unfortunately, the way I put it is, we're so deficient in our social abilities that we can't even create a community.
Lack of communication.
Yeah, we can't even create a community because we don't know how a community should run.
I know. I call up so many places, a lot of nonprofit organizations. If they're nonprofit, it's more brutal because they're already set in their system. And they just can't think or imagine possibility to incorporate some of my ideas, or just brainstorm to like, how do we can work together, But it's okay. It's all right. I will.
Well, the whole thing is really just a numbers game. And this just comes back from done sales for way too long, on and off. It was another one of my careers for a while. And after the bike business, there was more sales. There was on the road sales. There was international sales. There was all kinds of sales. But it really comes down to kind of selling people on these concepts and ideas, which means understanding what their motivation is and addressing what's in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bottom line is that's what motivates all of us, is what's in it for me. Maybe it's I feel good because I did something that was good for humans.
I know.
That's just as important as I made a pile of money. I mean, if you go to Bill Gates and ask him to do whatever to make another $100 million, my answer is, what my guess would be, he'd probably say no, because he'd rather do something else that will help humanity more. So for any person, that could be a different thing.
Yeah. Well, but I think that we need to stick together in terms of working together and not wasting time to reinvent the wheels and putting our ideas together and checking in with each other. I would love that if I can check in with you, because there's a lot of work to be done. I'm convincing a cafe in my city to hire somebody who has autism. It's hard because they don't know what to do. They don't know what to begin. They don't have the resources. And I'm just one person. It may be easier for like big corporate companies too, because they have the manpower to be able to guide and to develop resources. It's already in place. So, but I'm trying to also help people who don't have the technical skills. That's what I'm trying to do through the website and online platform. So we still have a lot of work to do.
Well, there is. I mean, a lot of the work to do is, there's certainly work to do on that side of preparing the autistic candidate. I mean, we all agree that there's work to do, and a lot of the way that the children are being handled in lots of situations make that even worse now than it was.
Yeah, I can't change that because it's the funding system.
Right. So there's a lot of work to do there, but I think where there's even more work to do is in getting companies to understand why they don't want to hire for fit anymore, like they've been doing for 25 years. That doesn't work, because that just means go hire somebody exactly like me. Right? I mean, what else is hire for fit? Oh, I want to make sure you can be my buddy and we're going to get along in every situation. Oh, so in other words, you want somebody that thinks just like you. Wow, great. We got a great fit. We have a company of 500 clones. And so I think a lot of the effort really is on the company side of educating them to what's the advantage? Why would I want to hire an autistic worker over hiring a non-autistic worker? And my answer would be, there's absolutely no reason you hire the one that has the better skill set and what you need. And just be really sure about what you need. Is talking to the CEO really an important part of a programmer's job? Probably not if it's a company of 10,000 people. You're probably never going to see the CEO in your life. But unfortunately, there's all those job requirements that they're throwing these things beyond the actual hard part to fill. They're throwing on top all these things that could be easily mitigated, worked around, handled different ways. Let the manager go talk to the CEO. Besides, they're better qualified and get paid more to go do that stuff. I mean, I'll tell the manager and brief them on what I want. Here's my stuff. I don't feel comfortable with them. You go do it.
Yeah. Well, that's where your work, what you've been doing is so great. And I love how the companies are coming together now to do all the seminars, the expos, and get together. So, but just put everything in one place.
There is a lot of effort going on right now to put things in one place. I was actually chatting. I was chatting with Jose Velasco from SAP on Monday, and he's got some amazing ideas. And Jose is a doer, not a talker. So that means these amazing ideas will happen. They're not just pie in the sky kind of ideas. And what essentially he's looking to do is bring together the leadership from these different Autism at Work groups, come up with a governance model of how to build a by-state organization that would help people through this process. And essentially put it out as a handbook of here's how you build one of these organizations in your state. all based off of
Yeah.
stuff that's proven to work.
You want to know the funny thing? I emailed Jose and he never replied to me. I mean, I would love a learning opportunity from people who are doing this. I don't know if based on our conversations today that you would think that my ideas of what I've come up so far would help. I'm a good outside of the box thinker. I would love to just learn with a group of people, So it's just like you said, everybody's doing their own thing.
There is getting to be a little more. We'll put it this way: there's a number of us who are working very hard and very diligently to share information to,
very hard.
With my tip sheets. I mean, you asked if you could put them on your website, and that's my view on them is the more people I can get them out to, the more it's going to help.
I think.
And conversely, you're going to eventually have something that I'm going to say, hey, can I put that one up there? And that's how we need to work together. And I've seen way too much of this. I have the right answer and every other answer is wrong. Well, no, I bet you every answer has its right place at the right time. None of them are wrong.
It fits.
Well, there are some wrong ones probably, but institutionalize them all. That's probably a wrong one. But
No. Yeah. But so there's a lot of work to be done. And, I think you're doing some amazing stuff. I thank you for letting me share your.
Well, you're more than welcome. And any of the material I have basically is available for sharing like that. And any of the listeners that are listening, I do make a lot of my materials available where I actually put courtesy of and put your name or website or whatever you want on it and make the materials available. So anybody interested, reach out to that for me.
I'm always happy to talk to parents, to talk to autistic adults of different age. I just love to talk. I just want to share and hopefully help people go towards the right direction,
You sound like you may have one or two autistic traits there. And of course, we do know that 80% are genetic, not de novo. So somewhere hiding in your family, there's an 80% chance that it came from somewhere.
Oh, I know it. I'm not going to mention names, but I know. I know. So, but those traits have their place. So I'm very proud of.
Oh, they're amazing strengths that they give you. I'm not.
You know what I'm talking about.
I'm just picking on you because it's fun. Because that's all. But
it's just like. Imagine if we just put our minds together, like how much of a bigger impact we can make. So,
well, that's what we're working on doing, both with this podcast, a bunch of us working in the background, working in the foreground. It's going to take all of us, and it's going to take
absolutely. And if you ever need anything, if you need me to promote anything, just give me a holler, shoot me an email. I'm always happy to share your work and what you're doing. If I have any questions, maybe we could do like a shorter topic, and that we could do it, and I can promote it on.
I'm willing to work with you all different ways. I've got a bunch of pieces that I did for two different groups. One I did for Optimize, which I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. Ed Thompson. Yeah. Ed I'm actually on his board of advisors, and I taught a class down in Arizona a couple of weeks ago for him. And Ed actually lives right here in Colorado. Now, he's from London originally, but I think they finally, got his paper signed off on finally.
Yeah, great.
He's got some, they fit into a different category than what you're speaking of, but they're done in a real short form format that are, I guess the way I would put it is the way his videos are done might be helpful for you to see just in what's a format that corporations seem to be accepting well. Now, the content-wise, a lot of it's stuff you already know and are teaching people. It's really 101 level.
I think my strength is training people, and my strength, I have a lot of knowledge about working with parents and building foundations in early childhood. and if there's any way that we could just develop like a curriculum, like a complete curriculum through different lifespan when you have an autistic person in a family, that would be
Well,
tremendous.
and there's more people we can loop in.
You know?
Before you, I was talking earlier this morning with Emma Pinnock. Emma's in the UK. And
yes,
Emma is phenomenal. Emma came from the children arena originally, now doing a lot of work in the business world. And what's interesting is, first off, because she comes from the UK, things are a little different there. So a little different perspective. And then well, first off, I just love Emma. Emma's just good people to have a chat with. But another thing that Emma brings to the whole thing that's amazing is she's female and she's Black. So now you have two minorities that we know are very much underdiagnosed, which gives her the ability to, it's hard for you and I to talk about the racial differences very much because we're white. We just aren't given that liberty very much. For her, though, it's super easy.
Well, I'm in the minority as well. Like I think that most of my relatives in Asia don't understand my work and why I'm sharing.
Well, I imagine particularly with an Asian culture background of the whole community orientation and such. I can see why they can't quite grasp you.
Family culture. It's very, very unique. And that's why I learned trainings from that region. Every culture is very unique.
So how do they view, from your culture, how do they view autism?
It's something that I think parents feel embarrassed about. I think things are changing a little bit more, but still a lot of people in Japan, particularly, there's no Facebook, autism Facebook in Japan because they're very private about it. A lot of the family struggles if parents don't know how to deal with severe behaviors. The government has put together places like group homes, but it's more like kind
of more like what we did back in like the 50s and 60s. Essentially, we just institutionalized and warehoused them.
Yeah. And I went to one of those places and they have wonderful programs there for these young people. But the sad part is that once they go through the rehab process, the parents don't want to take them back, which is heartbreaking for me. So they just stay there. That's culture. I mean, it was very eye-opening for me. I understand Japan is very unique, right? To me, the Japanese culture is so fascinating how they can combine tradition with technology and modern things. And yet it's mind-blowing to me, right? And then Taiwan. So when I work with my clinicians in Taiwan, they're very different.
Same thing though in Taiwan, of it being basically considered a kind of a spot against the family. I mean, I know in India, it's very much the same way. I mean, it's been for a long time in India. You did not talk about mental health. You did not talk about children with autism. You did not. That was just you didn't talk about those things.
Yeah.
Again, very slowly changing, but it's still inbred in the culture that you don't.
Very slowly, yeah. So I know, and then you at autism, and here in America, here in California, you have many autistic Asians working. That adds a different layer to it, right? And how we use eye contact in different culture, for example, it's different in Japan.
One thing I found in the tech industry, which is to me is just super interesting. And first off, obviously, there's a huge amount of us autistic people or functionally autistic people in the tech industry. We've been there all the time. We've been autistic even before anybody knew what the name was. We built the industry.
Oh, yeah.
But what I find so interesting is, of course, because of the need to bring in people with skills, you do have a huge amount of immigrants that are here, and you get to work with them day by day, hand in hand, right next to you. And it's been the most wonderful learning experience to work for a year or two on a daily basis with somebody from Russia, with somebody from Nigeria, with people from India, from Sri Lanka, from China, And you see all these different cultural variations. But the one thing that I found that's been real interesting is take an autistic person from any one of those cultures and we all get along just perfectly great. Doesn't matter. The cultural barriers we really don't even pay attention to.
Yeah. Right. No, I hear you.
So yeah, that's been interesting. One thing I'm going to send you is, I don't know if you've heard of the Autism at Work Handbook.
Autism Work Handbook. I have several books that I've
I'll send you
downloaded,
a link to this one. This is done by the Autism at Work group. I mean, I think there were 6 companies that worked on this, which was SAP, Microsoft, EY, JP Morgan Chase, and I think DXC was involved with it. So at any rate, it's off the big national, international corporate approaches. Right. And the only complaint I have with it is the title, to be honest with you. Because it's not a handbook. To me, actually playbook, that's what they call it, playbook. But that's still wrong because it's not actually a playbook. Because to me, a playbook is, okay, if you have this situation, this is what you do. No, to me, it's more of a recipe book. And it talks about, if you're going to deal with things like this, here's some of the things you need to consider. But nonetheless, I think
it's more like
exactly. I mean, it helps you think through the program of, okay, we've done it as a corporation. We've done this a few times. You can, so I'll send you a link to that. You can just download that for, it's free. They put it out there. So far, that's the only piece that they've actually produced and put out directly. Now, if you want to read though about some of the Autism at Work programs, if you go to Cornell, and what you really want to look for is the papers on DXC. And DXC used to be HP Enterprise before they bought somebody else and they changed their name. And they took all of their information, and their program is called the Dandelion program, which is kind of wacky because there's another concept in autism that's called the orchid and dandelion concept. And the two of them work totally opposite of each other. But at any rate, DXC open sourced all of their information on their program through Cornell. So it's at Cornell, you download it, but it was actually done by La Trobe University in Australia. But they exchanged students back and forth. It was funny. I was talking to the chancellor at La Trobe and mentioned the professor I work with at Cornell, and he said, "Oh yeah, I just got off the phone with her like 2 hours ago. We're arranging another student swap."
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm so glad we record this because there's no way I could remember all these things that you told me. I'm glad that we recorded. But now almost everything that I'm doing, I have a couple of ideas that I'm going to just, run it by you next time.
Well, I will tell you that trying to successfully market and sell videos like that is very, very difficult. Not that there's not a need for them by any means. I mean, everybody agrees there's the need, but trying to get them, it's just a tough way.
I know. I'm actually not even thinking about how the business side of it. I haven't actually, it will work out. I just want it to be resource globally that people can access. Because we're all very visual, and I'm going to keep it simple. But it's one step at a time. So I'm going to set up a nonprofit. But exactly what I do and my work and my vision. So if there are any connections you can think of.
Oh, definitely. I would really. The other thing that I'm going to suggest, and this was advice I was given by somebody else who knows way more than I do.
Is that possible?
Trust me, it's possible.
I don't know about that.
And what he said was, instead of going out and starting your own nonprofit, go find somebody who already is doing it and is struggling, and work together, and you'll get way further. And besides, they already spent the money for the 501c filings.
No, I'm considering that. I'm just trying to learn. So that's definitely one of my considerations.
Speaking about reaching out, Maisie, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and, engage you for the family, I mean, you do so many different things that kind of like a one-stop shop for somebody autistic. I mean, you can handle them from right diagnosed as a child right on through getting them into the work world. After the diagnosis, you can step in and help the parent. Afterwards, you can immediately step in and say, okay, now let me help you understand what they didn't tell you.
Yes. Right.
So you've got so many things to offer. How can somebody reach out and get hold of you?
Well, Maisie at autismcareerpathways.com. That's my email. And my name is MAIS, as in Sam, IE, at autismcareerpathways.com.
We hope that you've enjoyed another episode of Life in a Neurotypical Universe. Please, if you enjoyed this, share it with your friends. Go take their phone and subscribe them. Hey, it will help us all out. If you want to know more about neurodiversity or have any questions for me, you can reach me at my website, timgoldstein.com, where I'll be more than glad to help you as best I can to navigate through the neurotypical universe.